let me not say that I was, just blowing everybody out back in Madden 15. I was a bum.
Hello DC audience, welcome once again to another Spotlight session. This time we are joined by our first Madden player of the disconnected eSports team. Now remember, it's not just FIFA, we include Rocket League and also Madden. So I am in the pleasure to be joined by, over in the States, it is none other than Lawson. Hello Lawson.
Hi, how y'all doing today?
I am good, Lawson. Thank you very much for sitting down and asking the questions that the DC audience want to know. So the first one is, what was the route to you joining Disconnected?
Well, it all kind of started when me and Darren, who is, Turtle, we started playing Siege almost every day. We were really good. We'd get ranked. We'd all hit platinum. We would just go hard on Siege, and then because we were such good friends, we would just talk about just everything. And towards the end of Madden 20, I really started to hit, a hot streak, and I just kept hitting top 20s and top 50s in weekend league over and over and over. And then we were talking about making Disconnected, and he, it was all just for goofs at first, and then he was like, well, I'm really serious about this. I see potential here. So it was at that point where he sent me a contract and an offer, and I couldn't turn it down.
You could not turn that down, indeed. Now, interestingly, obviously, you're a Madden player. You are obviously in America. You're playing the MUT side. Do you want to give a bit of information to the audience about the differences, maybe, to MUT compared to FUT, but also just explore like what MUT is and Madden, etc.
Well, basically, I've never played FIFA. Well, I take that back. I've played like a 3-hour trial in clubs with some friends as a joke. And we played against the computer, and I was a god. But it was against the computer on easy. But basically, MUT...
Typical Americans, arrogant.
Love it. But how MUT is compared to FUT, it's basically the exact same. It's just like football or soccer over here. It's the exact same, using legends, current players. When your rookies get drafted, you're rookies, and you just go out there and you play a game of football, or as opposed to FUT, how it's soccer.
Yeah, so it's exactly the same in terms of the ranking system. It's competitive.
It's the exact same, and they actually did a really difference for the Madden Club Championships. They changed it to how they used to have it in previous years. It was draft champs and salary cap, where it's exactly what it is. You have a certain amount of cap points, and you have to build the best squad that you think will do great for you under those salary caps. But for this year, it's just all MUT. You can have the best. You can have all the best cards in the game. There's no cap restrictions.
I think that's great though, because you can kind of then dive in and say, oh, I want that player from that team, or I want that player from that team, and then you can kind of craft your squad from that, and work with a bigger squad compared to what you would have in FUT as well, which is even more interesting. Let's talk a bit about you then. So how did you get involved where you kind of picked up a controller for the first time on Madden, started playing casually and thought, actually, I'm bloody good at this, and then let's talk you going then into almost like the top 100 ranks.
Well, my love for Madden, it really started out back in Madden 12, it was like MUT's first year, back when they had it's completely different, and it's so good to see the change in how MUT has become, because back then, let me not say MUT was looked down upon, but MUT was first introduced into Madden in Madden 11, when it was actually DLC. And you had to basically, you got coins for playing your MUT games and your ranked games using just regular teams, your Steelers versus your Cowboys or your Cardinals or your Packers or your whoever. You actually got coins for playing online head-to-head games, and no one really that was into MUT, no one knew what we did with these coins. And I fell in love with Madden around Madden 12, but I was just casual, and then Madden 25 was when I first dabbled into MUT a little bit, and then Madden 20. Basically, I've been hard in it since Madden 15 to, or now I'm at 21. That's when I really started to, really grind and have a good squad. And let me not say that I was, just blowing everybody out back in Madden 15. I was a bum. But, just over the past, couple years, I mean, I'm all right. I wouldn't say I'm, a god, but, I've made top 100 on numerous weekend leagues. My best weekend league record was 24-1, which, you know,
Yeah, exactly. That's top 100 as well. And I think that's what a lot of people might be quite quick to say, oh, that's 24-1. But how many games do you play in MUT Champs? It's 25, isn't it?
um, yeah, it's 25, and it's to get top 100. It is really hard because this game, let me not say it's easy to play, because it is really scheme over team. You do have to know certain football concepts, but there are some things that you really like. The meta for Madden is just basically run your man-to-man coverage and throw your curl flat zones out there and adjust their zone depth, and you're basically good, depending upon if you have the team built for it. So it's kind of easier this year, but at the same time, you do have there's a excuse me, there was an adjustment period for me, which is why this past weekend league was my first top 100. Due to there was an adjustment period because last year you hardly saw someone run man. It was all zone, it was edge blitzes, and there are some blitzes in Madden, but it's not as to how, let me not say bad the game was last year, because overall Madden 21 is a step above Madden 20, but Madden 20 was, a step above Madden 19. So we're in the right direction as opposed to where mud is going.
And I think, like you said, as the games go on, the more advanced filters and features will enter the game itself as well. So that's really important to kind of explore that in terms of your information in regarding and how you play it, and then how you'll improve, get the players, etc., and move on. Right then, let's talk about your Twitch then. You do Twitch. You're a content creator for, well, not only Disconnected, but for yourselves as well in terms of on Twitch. Why did you choose that decision to join Twitch, and why did you kind of make it, and how did you come about it?
Well, at first, this was the Madden, I want to say 16. I would just do small streams, just kind of like I'd watch certain Madden, YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and I really enjoyed the content that they were making. I was like, well, I think I could do this. I think I could, just see where it would take me. And I had a couple streams where I hit, 30 plus viewers. So, I kind of felt, as in I was going in the right direction. But then, like, at first, I was doing it all honestly just for jokes and for my friends at the time. And then I, took a couple year break, and we just picked back up streaming a couple months ago. And we're taking a small break right now just due to some personal reasons off the game. But when the personal reasons stop, and when everything gets settled back down, the grind's going to be bigger and better than ever. Twitch.tv/Lawson1226.
There you go. That's all the information that you need, folks. Okay, final question then. In terms of Disconnected, it's slightly different because you're the only really Madden player. Everyone else is kind of foot players. You walk into the chat and you're like, oh, where's Lawson? Oh, Madden player. So it's very different. Let's talk in terms of the future. As much as you could use Disconnected as a platform for yourself, and in terms of you and Madden, hopefully we can get some more people in terms of Madden players on board in terms of Disconnected in the near future. What do you want to do in terms of yourself, future, in terms of the game, and also Disconnected?
That's an amazing question. I just want to...
See, that's my job. That's why Turtle puts me in the seat to ask these questions.
Well, I just want to be the best player that I can be. Do I think I could be, in the pro circuit maybe one day? Let me not say I'm on the crisp, because, I've played against pro guys, and some have just, they've mollywopped me. But then there are some games where I've held my own and kept it close, but, it's you can see why they're pros. And it's really like you can see who's a casual and who's not. And I'm a little, I'd say I'm above average. I win 65-70% of my games, but I see why they're pros and how they do what they do. And from the few pros that I have played, I've recorded their games and I've gone back and I've, just rewatched and took notes off that and watched tape and, so I can see, oh, if I see someone come out in this set on this play, there's a potential that he could be running, these top 2 or 3 plays.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing: self-teaching yourself, learning, etc. Because there's not really anyone in Disconnected that probably knows Madden as. And obviously, I played a few, but I'm not nearly as much as the knowledge. I don't have the game unfortunately this year, but it's almost like down to yourself to really learn that grind the meta, as we say in FIFA quite a lot. Try find exactly the meta and work with it. And if you get in top 100, then you can't argue with that.
Right, but there's always room to improve. There's always room to improve in everywhere. Like, was there 2 or 3 games this weekend league that I feel like I could have won and I choked them away? Yeah, but then on the flip side, there was a game or two that I probably should have lost that I ended up, like I was down 17-0 in a game this weekend, this past weekend league. Well, I think I was down 24-7 going into half, and I started getting in a rhythm and getting some momentum behind me, and things just started clicking in the opening. So they balanced themselves out. Like, I win some games that I should lose, and I lose some games that I should win. But the inner, I want to be the best. I'm like, I should have won all 7 games that I should have. I'm kind of fumbling over my words. I hope this is edited out. I want to win every single game. I go into every single game wanting to win, wanting to dominate, wanting to show them as to why I am better than my opponent, but it doesn't always turn out that way.
No, of course, and I think we can just call that champs, if it is a fact. That is the thing where, in terms of us FIFA players want to chuck a remote controller either at the wall or at the screen. It's very similar to Madden, when you get very frustrated, and sometimes if you play too many games, because there's a lot of games over a weekend, over 3 days, and a lot of people will play more games on certain, so it's all about allocating your days, etc. That's what we kind of do in FIFA. Well, anyway, Lawson, it's been a hell of an interview. Thank you very much for sitting down with me and answering, and obviously this is such a very different part to our DC audience that are normally used for FIFA, but it's great to sit down with a Madden player and understand exactly what it's like for you as a player and in a completely different game.
Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. So that was Lawson Lager. Make sure to tune in at later on tonight, 7 PM, where we have our next Academy player. It is none other than Sned. And we'll be going and exploring into Sned and how he kind of joined Disconnected, a very recent player to join in the team. We'll be speaking to Sned and see how how going from pro clubs to foot, but still playing in pro clubs, manages him and how he can still do it here in Disconnected. But till then, as always, big up DC.